Democratic debate. What was your thoughts last night? What was your thoughts with the fireworks?
Fireworks. Well, my thought was Bernie should have done this 6 months ago. That's my thought, and I said it in September, and I'm sticking by it. He really went after her, and because he has to, he's listening to her spout off all this gibberish that's one lie after another, and he finally tackled her, and so I was very happy about that. Uh, you could tell there were a lot of Hillary supporters in the audience who were having their cheering going on, but then Bernie had his guys there too. So I thought it was a fabulous. I actually thought that CNN did an okay job on the debate. So
Yeah, they
uh,
did press Hillary on those speeches.
well, one of the people I heard on the news today was talking to someone who was actually at one of the Goldman Sachs speeches, and his comment was, uh, rather than being a political candidate, she sounded like a managing director for Goldman Sachs.
Well, she didn't commit to any of the things anybody tried to pin her down on, like a carbon tax
Yeah,
and a cap on Social Security thing,
yeah.
releasing her speeches. She didn't commit to a $15 an hour national minimum wage. She didn't commit to universal health care. She did commit to a no-fly zone in Libya, though. She did commit to more troops on the ground in a possible World War III. She did commit to that. She also didn't commit on the excessive force issue in Palestine.
Yeah, I think that surprised a lot of people, and of course there are a lot of Jewish people in New York who just have a knee-jerk reaction, like anything that Israel does is okay, and so forth. And I think Bernie was trying to take a more measured and presidential, if you will, approach to it. Unlike uh, he had the facts on his side. I mean, but on the other hand, this has been going on for a couple thousand years. So is it going to be resolved under the Bernie presidency? I don't know. Um,
Well, what Bernie said that was a bit telling was Netanyahu is not always right, and he's a super hardcore right wing. It would be like Ted Cruz being president here or something like that. He's way right. So if there was a more moderate leader in Israel, there would probably be
yeah,
more reasonable talks going on.
yeah. I think the reaction, of course, over there right now because of that is because of the whole Iranian thing that's going on and the fact that
Right.
Iran keeps saying we want to wipe out Israel. So, if you're a voter in Israel, you think let's go hardcore because these people. On the other hand, if you want peace in the region, and Iran doesn't actually have any, they have their own agenda, so we don't know. But yeah, so I thought the debate was fantastic. Um,
Who do you think won the debate? Now, as usual, the online polls all had Bernie crushing, but all the pundits were calling Hillary crisp and beating him on all the issues and showing herself as more presidential. And
yeah, see, I take those with a grain of salt because the you get and the online people are for Bernie. I find the more middle of the road stuff where they actually address each of them
mm,
happens on Fox, and so because they have on a Democrat and Republican, like they had on Hillary, one of Hillary's campaign people was actually on, and he had this totally tangential approach. Well, she shouldn't release the things on the thing on her speeches because like Bernie gave a speech. I was at a speech that he gave, and he didn't release that one. Well, this is kind of different when you're getting paid millions of dollars by some special interests that are, and as opposed to Bernie gave a speech at a DNC fundraiser. So,
well,
uh,
Bernie definitely seems more confident now,
yeah,
or and it sort of seems like he's been speaking to so many crowds of people just going crazy for him that he sort of has that vibe like he's at a rock show speaking to a lot of people, whereas Clinton just does small $300,000 a plate George Clooney fundraisers where she's having to kiss rich people's butts in an intimate, wealthy environment while turning white noise machines on the press. And then, Bernie speaks to screaming crowds after being warmed up by Vampire Weekend. So he seems to have more of that vibe. He had more of that vibe when he was speaking. And Hillary seemed a bit flustered at times and would always go back to the woman card and the Obama card. Like President Obama, don't mess with Obama, and my husband in the 90s. That's her fallback, and the woman card.
Yeah. Well, she can't drop the Obama card because he's the one that could keep her out of jail. So.
Well, we already know that he is going to keep her out of jail, and they're all in the same room together plotting Clinton's coronation. And I talked to my friend in New York, and once again, it's a different vibe there. And the dissing of Hillary is working against Bernie a little bit there. They're saying, "Oh, Bernie's so negative, and why are you picking on Hillary?"
Well, I mean, you're doing a sample of one.
Right.
So I don't know that that's the general perception, because obviously there were a lot of people cheering what Bernie said.
Right. Well, but my sample of one is somebody north of 50. You know what I mean? And it just an interesting take is because it's in that bubble, that bubble, and thinking, oh, those kids, they're not going to show up to the election. I mean, the take is we got to elect Hillary because all those kids aren't going to show up in a general election, and we need to beat Trump.
Well,
those kids are just getting high. They're just going to the Bernie rallies and getting high.
Well, there you go. Buy some cannabis futures, I guess. I think we'll find out. I think it'll be an interesting dynamic between now and Tuesday to see what's happening. The polls, we know they're going to be wrong. I mean, I saw there were two polls that came out where they were spread apart by 8 points. Now they're plus or minus 4, so you could have literally a spread of 16 points right there.
Well, Hillary seems really confident right now, and my take is it's a closed primary, and you had to have registered as a Democrat 6 months ago to vote in this primary, because even New York, that's voter suppression, flat out. And so a lot of these kids...
See, this is the dual standard that they have. They claim that black people are being prohibited from voting, and yet they put these rules out when people didn't even know that this was coming up, that they had to do it.
Right. So a lot of these kids getting high at the Bernie rallies can't even vote. They probably didn't even register. So with Clinton pivoting right again and just sort of ignoring, going after Trump more, I think they have it wrapped up. And I believe they think, we've got the voter suppression thing. None of these kids are even registered. We're going to cheat. You already know they've got the cheating locked up, like in the other states. We're going to send Bill to a bunch of polling places. We got this thing, and we're going to put the nail in the coffin in New York. And because she was also at the debate talking about unifying the party. She was trying to tie up with, it's time to unify. So I believe they believe that Bernie is done after New York. We've got this thing. We've got Beelzebub and Aristophanes working with us. We've got the media. We put that hit piece out in the New York Times. And my friend who I was talking to was brainwashed by that hit piece. Mm-hmm. So I think they think this is a done deal. We're going to beat him. We'll just have the press say there's no way he can catch up to it. Wrap it up, Bernie. Don't go on anymore. Let's unify the party and go after Trump. I believe they think that. And they could very well be right, because a lot of the people that want to vote for Bernie can't vote for Bernie.
Yeah, I think, well, as we've said before, this is going to be the election that changes the whole political process because people are going, wait a second, why can't you register as a Democrat 2 weeks before the primary? I mean, what is the reason for that? So, and all of these stupid, backdoor deals that are being done, the whole concept of a superdelegate is ridiculous. It is just.
Well, that's their insurance policy.
I
That's
know,
their
but
insurance policy because it's political suicide for a Democratic superdelegate to switch to Bernie because then the DNC is going to go, you ain't going to get no more money. You ain't going to get elected. So fall in line, punk. Because they're already punishing people that are switching to Bernie. They're punishing them now.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there's going to be a voter revolt against all these political machines, and that's part of what Bernie is. I mean, Trump, the same thing. Now, Trump, I just want to hammer him a little bit here for a second. He ought to do his homework on something, okay? And that's why he's hired this new campaign consultant who's really like, hey, how did this guy Lewandowski screw up the whole Colorado thing? So, oh, I'm supporting you. Yeah, here's your office, punk. I got a guy in D.C. now who's really going to do this right. So I think he's starting to get embarrassed. Like, didn't we know that? This would be like showing up with all the building materials and nobody poured a foundation yet. So I think I don't know that it's a done deal for Trump yet. I mean, every time we think he can try to seem presidential, he goes and does some stupid tweet or something. So, but we'll see. If Bernie pulls off an upset, I think all the cards are back in the air.
Well, the other thing is if he's even close. And the funny thing is the Clinton camp is now spinning it that even if she loses in New York, she still wins. It still doesn't affect anything. It's still a victory. Even if she loses, they're spinning it that way.
Yeah, well, they're spinning it that way. I can tell you on Fox, they're not spinning it that way. They're like, how many, and this is the way they're portraying it, how many primaries in a row does she have to lose before the Democrats go, wait a sec, there's a message here, okay? And let's not, and why should we, not wait for California? Because that, of course, California has more delegates than any other state. So I think Bernie's going to be in regardless of what happens. And I think the Democrats have a lot of soul searching to do about, is Hillary really electable against anybody? I don't know. I mean, can you imagine? Bernie has been treating her with kid gloves, except maybe this last. Can you imagine what a Republican? What would, let's say it's Trump or Cruz? What do you think they're going to do to her? I mean, the gloves off, they're going to be wearing brass knuckles.
Yeah, well, Trump has a better chance against her than Cruz.
Yeah, I think
because Trump has the "I don't take money from super PAC" thing.
Yeah, but here's the problem he's going to have. There is no way, in my view, he has money to run for president on his own money. He doesn't.
No,
he's going to have to. It's going to cost $1 billion, and he's going to have to go and get money from the RNC and the special interests. So that whole thing that he's been saying is going to go out the window because he is not liquid enough to spend $1 billion on the presidential run. So this is where the thing is so ridiculous, is that, this is where the national committees try to control everything. Now, I think those days are coming to an end. I think social media and the internet is ending all that.
They are coming to an end, but if Clinton wins, they're not really coming to an end. Because that's just how she does things, and she'll start another war to keep another 4 years. So you would. I
think what'll happen is, I think there's a fifth. I'm pretty sure there'll be a third person running in the race. I don't know who it's going to be. Is it Bernie? Is it Trump? Is it Michael Bloomberg? I mean, he's another billionaire who's an egomaniac. But I think it's even possible that Bernie and Trump could run as
Well,
independents.
that is an interesting scenario, and if they both get screwed at the convention, and if Trump ran as an independent, Bernie would be foolish not to, because
Mhm.
he would win, first of all, and second of all, he has the apparatus in place to fund a campaign, a
Well, just
presidential campaign.
yeah, yeah, and just think of this: that on a holistic approach, that is the thing that destroys machine politics.
Right, right. I mean,
So
so it really comes down to, would Bernie believe? Well, it would have to predicate on Trump jumping in as an independent, because I don't think Bernie would go in to split a vote and get a President Cruz if it was Cruz and Trump didn't run as a third party, and say Bernie didn't get the Democratic nod. I don't think he would
I,
jump in. But
I
if
even
Trump runs in
potential.
as an independent, he damn well should jump in if he's
I,
not the nominee.
I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that the Republican machine will actually end up picking Kasich. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And the reason is he's been a boy for them for a long time. He's in the polls as they are today. He's the only one of those three that actually beats Hillary. So, because he's more moderate, he's like,
Well, he's really not. He acts like he's moderate, but he's really not moderate.
well, he's more moderate than Cruz. You would admit that, wouldn't
I
you?
would admit that, but that's still not. I mean, he's still a crazy. Compared to Cruz, anybody is moderate.
Well, okay, but here's my point. So if you're the machine and you're trying to pick somebody for the Republican side, you're not picking Trump.
No,
Okay.
no. If you're the
So if
machine,
it's
yeah.
between so if it's between Cruz, who and he is more moderate, which makes him a little more electable actually. The Republicans don't always get this. But so that's I mean this is why it's such an interesting political season. And very interesting. I think it's going to be the downfall of both the Democrat and the Republican parties. And why we don't have a third one, I have no idea.
Yeah, well,
But
it's going to be interesting, and do you think with this Democratic debate, Hillary or Bernie picked up any new voters, or do you think it's just
I
status
think
quo?
I think Bernie picked up new voters. I really do. I think he picked because I'm sure there were a lot of people who really hadn't, for one reason or another, hadn't seen the other debates,
Hmm.
and so I think this was the most telling of all the debates.
So who do you think won?
Bernie won. Bernie won. I mean, when I did this, she has no record whatsoever that you can stand on.
You don't feel Hillary was crisp and presidential
No.
and a master of the facts, where Bernie is a
No,
confused old communist?
no. And in fact, what I thought was really interesting, and was on the stage, they were closer together than before. And to me, that was an interesting dynamic because they could have one picture just panned back slightly, and you could see Clinton going like this, scowling at Bernie, saying, and Bernie could go like this and say, "I'm pointing at you," So I thought it was I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.